Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Zawadski. I'm the Program Director and co-founder of Hope Debt Relief. This is the second presentation that I'll be doing on our debt resolution program. Now, I hope you're able to pick up some good information on that first video that you should have watched before listening to this one. If you haven't already seen that first video, please make sure you go back and watch that one first. And it'll all just make a little bit more sense to you that way. So I think at this point you should have a pretty good idea of how it all works. So here I'm going to cover some of the same stuff, but in just a little bit more detail. So we'll go over the actual enrollment agreement that you'll be signing a copy of once you get yours. Then we'll talk about some time frames of when you'll see things start to happen after you're enrolled. Then I'll go over some frequently asked questions, and I'll give a little commentary on a few other things. Then that should be it. So we'll wrap it up from there. So the feedback that we've gotten from that last video has just been great, and everyone really seemed to be able to soak it all in for the most part, and to really understand the details. So I'm pretty thrilled with how that video has really seemed to help out. So I just want to thank you all so much for your feedback and for all your great questions. And it's because of popular demand that I've decided to do this presentation. And I also plan on having a few other presentations that I've done in the past uploaded to our blog as well. I have one on our credit repair program that is definitely something that you'll want to check out. I also have one on a referral program, which is something that has really been a blessing to a lot of people. It's called our Friends Helping Friends program, and we have a whole page on our website devoted to this program. And then I have a few other presentations that I've done in the past as well. One is on consumer rights, and then the other is on what's called the fractional reserve banking system, which is a pretty deep topic, but something that I find very interesting and that I've actually studied a lot over the years. And it does, in a way, relate to this program. It's basically how the monetary system works and how the majority of the money is actually created here in the United States. Nowadays, only a very tiny little percentage of our money is actually printed as paper money. The majority of money is created by banks when they give out loans and credit cards. So just to give you a real basic idea of how this ties into this program that we're talking about here, let's say that your creditors end up forgiving $10,000 off your balances through this program, by way of settling your debt. It's not really as though they're losing that $10,000, not even close. They might lose even just 1/10 of that $10,000, which is really fascinating in how it all works. And it's because of this authority that banks have to create basically 10 times more money than they actually have, and then to be able to loan that money out and collect interest and fees off of it. This makes this topic a very controversial topic. A lot of people strongly disagree with the advantages and the power that this gives creditors. And then on top of all this, you have the stimulus acts and the federal government bailout programs. The last I heard, Bank of America was given $900 billion of tax money to cover losses that can actually be claimed as losses or considered losses as we would think of, maybe losing our own money. So, if you want to learn more about this, this idea and this system, you'll have to check out that presentation once I have it posted. Or, if you have any moral doubts or implications about getting help with your own debt, as a lot of people that come to us for help do, and don't get me wrong, I highly respect you for this opinion, if that's you, but before you let that stop you from getting help that you need, you want to learn more about the system and all of the special allowances that banks have, from the tax advantages to the federal money that they receive to the ability to loan and earn interest off of money that isn't actually theirs. They truly cooperate with these types of assistance programs because they truly benefit from them, and they even expect for people to enroll in them. So for what it's worth, my personal opinion is, and it's an opinion that I've developed from years and years of doing this and from working in finances most of my life. Let's say that your uncle or your brother lent you money. You have to pay that back, no questions asked, obviously. But if you're in a real tight spot and you need help with your credit cards or bank loans, and you've tried everything else that you could think of, maybe short of completely depleting your savings, if there is help available and assistance programs, that your creditors will be more than willing to cooperate with when it comes down to it, then it's maybe even your responsibility to get that help for the betterment of yourself and your family, and then move on. In this day and age, with financing being so prevalent and debt really being so prevalent, these assistance programs are accounted for by creditors, and people are even expected to enroll in them. Unfortunate or not, that's just the way the system works. And just remember, you're not alone. The last I'd heard, there were approximately 1.2 million people enrolled in debt relief programs like these nationwide, who are getting help with their credit cards just like you. So creditors cooperate because it makes some sort of business sense for them to cooperate. They're not really doing it to help you out or out of the kindness of their own hearts or whatever. Like I said, they benefit from it and they even expect people to enroll, so they account for it and they plan for it. So you'll be fine. So my advice is to use these programs if you need help. Get yourself out of debt as fast as possible and just simply try to never be indebted again. And that's the whole idea here at Hope Debt Relief, and that's a little on why we do what we do, and why we are so passionate about it. We do truly feel like we're helping a lot of people in a really big and important way, saving people a lot of money and a lot of heartache along the way. So I'll have these different videos up on our blog before too long, so you'll have to check back periodically. Okay, so before I really get started here, and before we jump into the enrollment agreement that I want to go over with you, I want to mention something. Now, we are a Christian company, but I always try to keep things as business-like as I can, and I never try to preach or to go overboard on that sort of stuff until maybe I get to know someone on a more personal level first. But this is something that I just can't ignore. I can't ignore this topic because it's really important to me, and through a lot of the feedback that we get here, I know that it's really important to a lot of you as well. So we all know that dealing with financial issues is a really big part of our lives and can be very stressful and even devastating for a lot of families if it's not handled in a very urgent, responsible manner. In any tough situation, you need to remember these things. You need to remember to pray, to have faith, then relax and listen, and then take action just as soon as you possibly can. There's a saying, when you pray, coincidences just seem to happen more often. It's sort of a funny way to put it, but it's true. Good things just happen more often after you pray for them. And the way that I see it is this: we can't even imagine what goes into the work that has to be done in order for our prayers to be answered. There is an immense amount of technology behind prayer that we are just not capable as simple human beings of understanding. So a lot of times when we are just overwhelmed, the only responsible choice that we have is to pray. But the hope that we as Christians have is that Scripture tells us prayer is enough. So we need to pray and then just relax and have faith and don't worry about the timing. Okay, then the next step is to take action. Prayer and faith is obviously very important, but another very important godly principle is obedience and to obey. And obedience translates into taking action. So you pray, you have faith, you relax and listen, and then you have to act. There's just really no other way, and I'm personally a big believer in this. From what I found, the only way to permanently relieve stress and anxiety over a certain situation is to take action and to just take that very important first step. And just taking this first step does so much for your morale, that sometimes it's really unbelievable. You'll look back and say, "Man, I should have done that a long time ago." And a lot of times, I'll be quite upset and even mad at myself for not just taking care of it sooner. And we've all been there and we've all done that, right? So I always try to pray, and then I try to relax. I have to remind myself to relax and just listen. And then, I have to remind myself again to take action, and to take that action just as quickly as possible. And that first step is, without a doubt, always the hardest. But it's a lot easier to take that first step when we as Christians get to walk out onto faith. Okay, so now as far as this program's concerned, a big part of our job here is to help people find answers to their financial issues and to help people to make that first step. So it's our policy to be persistent, and we're going to make a lot of follow-up calls, and we're going to present you with a lot of information all at once. And we know that this is something that people oftentimes just don't want to face, and that's fine. That's just human nature. But if you call us looking for help and you need help, then we're going to give you all that we can. And we feel that this is our job, and this is just good, courteous business practice. So if you're used to companies maybe not following up with you, maybe even for days at a time, or not being persistent, that's not going to be us. We know how important it is for you to make that first step, and we know how difficult it can be, for some people to take that first step. So we really want to help out. Okay, so with that being said, if you ever have any doubts about our debt relief programs, or if you ever feel led to take another path, or you feel as though we are just maybe pushing you too fast, please don't hesitate to let us know. We want you to feel very comfortable with your decision to enroll in our program. And actually, if you're uncomfortable, I'd rather that you did not enroll. We can always help you to find another solution, or to get more answers to questions that maybe you still have, or whatever. But we want you to feel comfortable and to be able to communicate openly. And again, that's just another good business principle. Okay, now let's talk about this enrollment agreement and what it takes to get enrolled in this program. Now, the very first step is for you to fill out that application that your counselor either has provided to you or will provide to you. It's generally emailed out to you. Then once you fill that out and return that back to your counselor will then put together your contract or enrollment agreement for you. Okay, so let's go over that contract real quick here. The first page here sets the tone for the rest of the agreement. It names you as the party to the agreement or customer, and it names a company or service provider. And I'll read the first section here. It says, this is the written agreement between you and the service provider. The service provider is a nonprofit corporation organized for the purpose of aiding consumers nationwide to recover from excessive debt and other consumer services. And it goes on for a little while with that sort of stuff. Then the bottom of page 2 talks about the different fees required for the program. And I went over this on the last video where I broke down the payments on the whiteboard, if you remember Isaac's situation. Now on that video, I talked a lot about that 60% figure, if you recall. And I mentioned that the service fee is included in that 60%. Now the actual breakdown, because this is a question that we've gotten since that video, the breakdown is generally 45% to settle the accounts with your creditors, and 15% is usually collected as a service fee. So you have 45% plus 15%, which equals that 60% figure that I had talked about. Okay, so another question that we get is, if we tell you that we can get your monthly program payment down to, say $500 or $600 or whatever, everything is included in that $500 and nothing more. No hidden or unexpected fees or anything of that sort. You will never ever have to, come in with more fees after the fact. Okay, so I hope that's clear. All included. So let's take a look at the next page here. Here there is a list of disclosures that you'll need to pay some attention to. The first disclosure says program selection and alternatives. So basically, we want to make sure that your counselor did point out some other options, such as maybe credit counseling or bankruptcy. Even though these options may not be viable or even make any sense for you, we at least want you to know about them. And we want to make sure that your counselor did their job and went over these alternative programs with you. Now, number 2 says credit rating impact, and I covered this quite a bit in the last presentation, and I think that it's pretty clear how this works. Basically, even though in the short term this program very well may hurt your credit score, it's a fact that for people who really need help, This strategy of settling debts may be the best thing for their future credit and overall financial well-being. Okay, so let's move on to number 3, possible tax liability. Now, I talked about in the last video as well, if you happen to receive this certain type of 1099 that a creditor may or may not send to you, you may need to fill out IRS Form 982 and send it in with your normal tax return. Obviously, you can contact your CPA if you feel as though you need more information about this. Okay, so number 4, creditor collection activity. Now, this really shouldn't be that big of a deal as long as you expect some calls and don't take this part of the process and the calls that you may receive too personal. Just remember that up until a certain point, most creditors will treat your account even though they may be completely aware that you are enrolled in this program with us. They may treat it just the same as they would any other collection account. Okay, so my personal advice is this. You can either ignore the calls completely from the very beginning, or, if you prefer, you can tell the collector that you are simply unable to pay anything more to them at this point and then just request that they only contact you by mail from this point forward. So let them know, no more phone calls. Now, some collectors, just a kind of fair warning, may be nice and respect your request, but don't expect them to. And if they are rude to you on the phone, or if they try to tell you that they won't cooperate with a third party, or that you just need to make one more payment and then they'll cooperate. It's actually somewhat common for collectors to say these kind of things or make these kind of enticements. Don't worry about it. It's really no big deal and it's expected. So after you've asked them nicely, to communicate with you through mail only, which is a perfectly fine and normal request, if they continue to call you, then you're going to have to resort to ignoring those calls at that point. Okay, so basically you can either give each collector fair warning that you will not be answering their future calls, or you can just cut them off from the very beginning. Either way is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with having your creditors communicate with you by mail. That is preferred. Okay? Or, what I would personally do is I would personally simply change my phone number. Call your service provider and ask for an unlisted number, and then you'll have nothing to worry about. Usually your phone company can do this for you right there on the spot. It's real simple, and it's a completely normal thing for them to do, and they do it all the time. I would change my number because, and I'm sure this is the same with you, I pay an arm and a leg for my cell phone service, and I don't want to have to deal with collectors calling me on it all the time, or at all, for that matter. Okay, so just remember, the bottom line is this. You are doing all that you can to be responsible and to take care of your debts as best as you can for the time being. But fielding excessive collection calls is not going to help your situation in any way, and it's not going to help the program. So don't do it, period. You need to stay focused on what's best for you and your family right now, and that's really all. Okay? So let's jump down to number 7, possession of funds. And this has to do with a custodial account. So what this is saying is that all of your payments are collected by and held until paid to your creditors by this account. We as a company do not possess your funds. Now this is a requirement for us as a debt negotiator, and it's really for your security and insurance, so it's no big deal. And then number 8, which is the last disclosure, third-party obligations. This again has to do with the custodial account and the fact that they are considered a third party providing a service to you. Okay, so the next page talks about our privacy policy and how we keep your information secure and confidential. And then there is a signature field where you would sign, and that's basically the entire contract. Okay, so now there are 2 other pages where you would sign. The first is called the limited power of attorney form. This is the very first thing that we are required to send to your creditors, or your creditors will require us to send to them. It states that you are being represented by us and that you are giving us permission to work with your creditors for you. And that's basically it. And then on this form, we do request in bold print that you'll see that your creditors stop communicating with you and direct all further communication to us. And we list our address, phone number, best contact numbers, and those types of details, contact information. But like I had mentioned earlier, it's not always this easy, so don't expect it to be. Then on the next page, you'll see your actual payment schedule for the program, which is something that your counselor will take a minute or two to go over with you on the phone. And then the final page is a very simple setup form for your custodial account. And this mentions how the account is a secured and FDIC insured depository bank account. And it mentions that you will be issued a login and password for your online account, pretty much just like any other savings account at your bank. You'll get monthly statements and all the rest. Okay, so there you go. I think this is probably going to be the most thorough explanation and of this program that you're going to be able to find. I think that I covered it all. So now that I did cover a lot of details here. And something that I really want you to remember is to not overcomplicate this program. It's really a very simple idea. All that you need to do for this program to work is remember to just answer our phone calls when we need to provide you updates, and then make your program payments on time. And we basically do all the rest. Okay, so remember, like I had said before, you're not the only one doing this and getting help with your credit cards. This idea and this program is not unique at all. There's a million plus people enrolled in programs just like this one, and there are 40 or so different debt relief companies that offer programs just like this. So creditors, they know exactly what to expect, and they know exactly what we're doing and why we're contacting them on your behalf, and they cooperate all the time. And it's really just that simple. So don't overcomplicate it. Now, the next step is for you to make sure that you get your application back to your counselor. And if you need any help filling it out, please be sure to ask. Sometimes we can even get your creditor information for you if you're having a hard time finding it. And this might just be that first important step that I had talked about earlier. So make sure that you do this as soon as possible. That application is the first step for us to be able to present you with a plan and go over the details with you. So remember, we're always here to help and to do anything that we can. This is a nonprofit public benefit service program, and we take our public service very seriously. All we're going to ask of you is that you please support our business, and you can help us to do our job better as you help yourself, by maybe prioritizing this event in your life right now. Now I know that you have a lot of other stuff going on, but if you can just try to focus, and we'll quickly work out a plan together, and then you just need to take that first step as soon as you can, maybe even within the next day or two, if you can, of course, and if you feel comfortable. And I promise, as soon as you do, as soon as you put a plan in action, if that requires you enrolling into one of our programs or some other plan, you will feel so much better about your situation immediately after you do. It's that thing, taking the monkey off your back or relieving yourself of that burden. It's a very important thing. So God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.